Alright, we're recording. How's it going, everybody? This is Aaron the Pedantic. Today I'm going to do a video on hacking 5th edition, or really any RPG, but probably 5th edition. And there's a very specific reason that I'm focusing on 5th edition. Now, one of the first things I want to address is one of the most infuriating things that I have encountered anytime that there is a mention of hacking. There's always one person in the crowd who is going to say, why not play another game? And I cannot tell you like how much I fucking hate that counter. I cannot express just how pissed off that makes me. Listen, if we were going through the time to think about how to change the game, do you think that we would not have already considered this? I mean, sure, there may be some people out there that they just, they don't know to look for other games. They're afraid of like having to learn, a new system or something like that. But chances are, if you have somebody who's interested in altering and tweaking and things like that, they probably have at least some kind of interest in this. And the fact of the matter is that for one reason or another, they are sticking to the overall system. Now, sometimes they'll say, well, why not just write your own game? Well, here's the thing, bucko. If you look at most of the games, especially if you're looking at an OSR hack, or not even a hack, an OSR game that has, transcended into an entire new identity, and not just a pure clone, then you're going to notice that almost every time that this is mentioned, the person who wrote it is going to say, well, it started out as just a few home rules. And that is often how this thing is going to transpire, unless you're just trying to make a game to sell it. Some people guilty. And they had a game that they liked and they thought it was a good format, but they wanted to take it into a different direction. There is nothing fucking wrong with this. The idea that you should just give up on whatever you're trying to do just because somebody thinks that don't mess with the system or whatever. Fuck you. Okay. Well, so fuck you, and I just want to get that out of the way before we move forward. All right. So and don't take it personal. Don't take it personal. But fuck the idea. Okay. So you might be a perfectly decent person, but fuck that idea. Okay. All right, so the next thing I wanted to say is, all right, well, so if that is the case, then why are you hacking? There could be all kinds of purposes. If you're doing it for 5th edition, chances are you are unsatisfied with a particular thing about it, or you're wanting to do something different with it, but your goddamn players are just not really that adventurous when it comes to role-playing game systems. This is extremely normal. You're going to see this a lot. And to me, one of the best things that I have noticed, the best things that I have been able to get away with have been rather slight tweaks, or they were very, very specific to an idea. And I'm going to go through exactly what that is going to entail. The first thing that you're going to want to do, just in general, your players are going to be kind of apprehensive to the idea of tweaking the system. The reason for this could be that they have grown attached to the mechanics at large because they understand, how this works with this, but maybe they're not of the design mindset. And so they're worried that if you take this away, it's going to affect this thing. And then they're going to have to rethink how they do everything. And it's just going to be a whole confusing mess for them. Chances are that they are very focused on mechanics for character-facing stuff. And that is a challenge. There are some people that maybe they don't understand the mechanics that well to begin with. They're probably going to be the easiest ones to get on board, because 90% of the time you're probably trying to remind them in the moment. Oh yeah, you need to do this. You need to do this. But it's going to be the ones that really know the system well from a player's perspective that are going to be the hard sell. And so there are really, to me, 3 ways to approach this. But the first thing you have to do, regardless of your approach, is to let them know the purpose. Okay, just be flat. Just be honest. Just be straightforward. I have told players, look, we're not doing healing word on a bonus action. Healing word does not exist. Because of the fact that it just makes combat stupid in sometimes. Some cases, it just makes combat stupid. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. It breaks my immersion. It's just kind of goofy. It reminds me of those little Bozo the Clown inflatable things that you punch and they get back up. And it's just don't like it. I mean, for one spell slot, you too can sponsor an adventurer who has suffered a near fatal blow. Just don't like. So you need to be forthcoming about why you're wanting to change this thing. If you're just like, well, I'm doing this and this and this, and there's kind of a long list of things, there may be some scrutiny that's going to be involved, and there may be a sense of distrust. Why is the DM taking this thing away from me? What is it that they're trying to do? If you're just upfront about what you're trying to do, then more likely than not, they're going to say, okay, so he probably has a decent point behind it. Maybe they disagree with your point. Maybe they can have that discussion with you. And if so, that's fine. Maybe something can be struck that is going to involve not changing the mechanic. Maybe it ends up being a discussion about how the player has been kind of ridiculous about how much they want to exploit things. And maybe they decide to scale that back. Possibility, things that could happen. But all in all, just explain to them what the purpose of this is. Okay. So the second, now I guess now I'm getting into the different approaches, I would say. So first you have a setting approach. So a setting is a fantastic reason to hack the game. And in this case, hacking may be very slight. It may be just, one of my more controversial takes, the no cleric setting, where a lot of people are like, what? Change? Don't, no. Maybe your setting doesn't have clerics. And maybe that's a perfectly fine thing. And maybe it's still D&D, fuckwads. So the cleric, perhaps you are removing it because of the fact that gods in your world are dead. Or maybe they genuinely work in very mysterious ways. And it's more of an elusive thing. And, maybe it's a Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser type world where the gods are just kind of off doing their own thing in their own world. And occasionally you can get some kind of blessing from them or something. There could be any number of reasons why you're tweaking something like that. Maybe you're tweaking the way magic works because of the fact that in your setting, magic works differently. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. A lot of times, if you can get players set on the setting, if you can get them to think, what about this world where it's like this? Then a lot of times they're going to be willing to put up with some pretty crazy stuff. Personal experience. I recently was talking to my my normal 5th edition play group about a new game and in a new setting, and they got really pumped for it. It has a ton of class and race restrictions, a ton of them, and we are like, basically I've said, oh no, this subclass, no fucking way. I'd prefer you make your own subclass that is built to the setting, run it by me, and then we can get it approved, because we're going for a very specific vibe here. And, the players, they really buy into it. They think that that's cool. Or they don't. Maybe they don't buy into it. And maybe you need to try this on a different group. And that is another point I want to, again, I've reiterated this a million times. Run the game that you want to run. Find the players that want to play in your game. I'm definitely a DM who likes to, make my players happy, especially if they're players that I've played with for a long time. But there is a certain point where you need to make yourself happy because, there isn't an infinite amount of time in this world to play games. So setting is the first one. Tone is another one. So obviously, if you are playing in 5th edition as written, the tone is going to be incredibly high magic. So maybe making some tweaks to how magic works. For instance, I know I keep going back to that, but it's just the first thing that's popping into my head. How magic works, how healing works, any of these things, and there are recommendations in the DMG to change these things. And this is, again, it should be ringing some bells for some people that are like, oh, don't mess with it. Yes, fucking mess with it. Even the designers say mess with it, except for Jeremy Crawford because he's a little shit. But, yeah, so if maybe healing magic is just gone. There is no healing magic. It's just gone. You're going to have to do natural healing or whatever. Why would you do that? Well, the tone is going to be a lot more gritty. People that are infected with, diseases, they just die out. There's nothing to save them. It's unfortunate, but that's just what we deal with. Whenever people die, they're gone. They're gone unless you manage to get some kind of miracle or some kind of horrible transaction from some terrible creature. That's what we're dealing with. Immediately, the game is going to change. They're going to be a lot less cavalier about how they charge into places. They're going to take risks a little bit less risky. They're going to be a lot more calculated. The tone of the game is going to change dramatically. And this is a good thing, maybe, for your group. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's the complete opposite. Maybe this is a high magic world. Maybe everything that they do is going to have twice the effect. So it's just kind of like this crazy world where magic is super powerful. Or maybe it's even just an area. Fuck with the game. Just fuck with the game. Again, explain to them the purpose beforehand. All right. The third thing is potentially a rule problem, something that is just plaguing the game. Maybe there's certain aspect that it really just doesn't produce the effect that you want. So whenever I was talking about perception checks recently, one of the comments I had was basically somebody saying that it's hardwired into the game that player characters can build for perception checks. So simply removing them would be an issue. And to this, I say nay. I say that if you tell your players, look, perception checks are not a thing. They are not a thing. If you want to see something, then you ask me what you want to look at. What do I see? And I will tell you. And that is how we're going to do things. And if you do it that way, then they're going to know, listen, I'm not going to get the perception skill. I'm not going to worry about getting a feat that adds more passive perception. I'm just going to do these other things, and that is perfectly fine. That is no problem. They've moved past it. They're like, okay, so that means I can focus on these other things. And that means that whenever I'm playing, that I need to be more inquisitive with the DM. And that this is a game where I can't expect that I'm just going to find the trap because I'm right there. I have enough lighting and I have a passive perception of 25. So, if you just tell them, look, the problem is that you guys always find stuff because passive perception and you build stuff so high. So let's just fucking forget passive perception. You can focus on other things. You can be a damage dealing monstrosity if you like. You can be the ultimate investigator, perhaps. All these kinds of things. You can work on these things. There's this whole other skill system that you can work around, and you can do that. And maybe that resonates with them. Maybe they say, okay, we'll give this a try. What happens next? Next thing you know, they're kind of like, this kind of old school style inquisitive dungeon crawling is really interesting. I like it. It is. Yes. Would you like to try something that's a little bit more pure about it? Something that is a little bit more lethal. All these kinds of things. This is a way to maybe work people into the idea of moving to another game. Because honestly, if you stick to the formula as it's written, why would they change unless they're just completely flustered and just done? And how often are like an entire group of players at that point? As a final note, I will say that, I have had success in getting otherwise 5e bound players to play another game if there is a license attached to it that they really like. So I've seen players jump onto Game of Thrones RPG. I've seen them jump onto Dragon Age RPG. I'm going to do some videos on Dragon Age RPG eventually. I've had limited success in getting people to try a derivative of D&D that has basically the same system, but just a few tweaks here and there, and it's really easy to learn. But for the most part, if it's a license they're excited about, they're going to be more willing to try it. That's my experience. Maybe you have a different experience, but that is my experience. So that is the hacking video. Hopefully you got something interesting out of it. And, we can duke it out in the comments. Recently had some people argue with me about things in the comments. And here's the thing. I'm willing to be swayed on just about anything. So feel free to try and change my mind. Not to bring in that whole meme, but you can change my mind. I am not going to try to fight you into agreeing with me. That's not the kind of person that I am. If what I say resonates with what you believe, then that's cool. That's cool. And, like we've built a connection, maybe we can, continue talking about these things. If it doesn't resonate, then you can put your 2 cents in, and then I will talk to you about, like how I feel about that. It's not going to be a debate. I don't really do debates. I'm a grown-ass man. I don't have time to debate with everyone who has a contradictory opinion. I just don't. I got a job. I've got a lot of projects that I'm working on. I just don't have time for that. But if you want to express your opinion, I'll listen to it. I'll read it. So just a general warning. So that's it for today. Hope you all enjoyed this, and hope you have a wonderful week. It was Tuesday. Yeah. Hope you have a wonderful week, and take care.